What's up everybody, I'm Jason and welcome back to some more tips and tricks for the Canon EOS R5C. And this time in episode 10, we're going to be talking about the rolling shutter performance of the R5C. So before I get into the details of what I found, let me quickly address the questions of what, why, how, what, where, who, what's going on, what is rolling shutter. Now, if you're super interested in learning more about this, I have a nearly 40-minute long video detailing not only what the deal is with rolling shutter, how the testing methodology that I'm using works, the math behind it, and all that kind of thing. I'll put a link to that in the description and the cards, wherever the card goes. I think it's over here. So you can go check that out if it's interesting. If that sounds like a lot of boring stuff to you, let me quickly summarize the points here. So an electronic rolling shutter is a way to read out the camera sensor line by line, progressively starting basically at the top of the frame and moving to the bottom of the frame. Now what this means is that the time when the first line of the frame and the last line of the frame are read out is not the same. Now what this means is that because the time for the first line and the last line are not the same, things that move in the frame can become distorted. Rotating things, especially rotating things with straight radial lines, so things like propellers or rotor blades or something like that, or car wheels, will tend to distort into curves, so the straight lines will curve. Vertical lines tend to distort into lines that have leaned over. So that could be because you're panning across buildings or because a bus drove through the frame or something to that effect. Now, ultimately, why we care about rolling shutter performance as cinematographers is because this distortion is not something we necessarily want in our footage, and it affects how fast we can pan the camera or how fast something can move through the frame. Now, speaking of rolling shutter performance and testing and, getting information about this, I should point out that rolling shutter performance on most cameras is not just one single number. So most of the reviews that I have seen when people are doing rolling shutter performance or testing or talking about it tend to publish a single number. Hopefully that number is the worst case number for the camera, so you could potentially have better performance in different camera settings, but they only usually present one number. Unfortunately, or fortunately, or however you may consider it, the actual rolling shutter performance may vary depending on your camera settings, and typically does. And that's certainly the case for the EOS R5 and R5C. So remember, this is a consideration based on reading out the sensor resolution, not something down the chain from that, or reading out the sensor and its resolution, so not something down from the chain from that. Which means, first of all, changing the amount of the sensor that has to be read out will impact the rolling shutter time on most cameras. So going from full frame to Super 35 to Super 16 crop modes on the R5C will improve the rolling shutter performance. Additionally, the way you get the information out of the sensor for lower output resolutions can affect rolling shutter performance as well. So cameras that only downsample, so for example, the R5C, which primarily only downsamples, we'll see the same rolling shutter performance regardless of what output resolution you select. So if you're shooting in full frame and you're outputting a 1080p file, it's going to have the same rolling shutter performance as if you were writing an 8K file. On the other hand, cameras that use line skipping to get to lower resolutions, well, line skipping does just what the name implies. It skips lines, and when you skip lines, you have fewer pixels to read, and therefore you can read out the sensor faster. So line skipping cameras, or cameras that at least have line skipping options, for example, the R5, you will see when you switch from 8K to 4K standard quality on the R5, the rolling shutter performance improves pretty significantly, actually. Now, the final thing to be aware of, although we have no real control over it, is that camera manufacturers may make decisions on rolling shutter performance for a variety of reasons due to the engineering of the cameras. So, for example, faster rolling shutter performance may have more noise because the analog to digital conversion doesn't have as much time to settle, or that the system has to run at a higher power level, and therefore there's more heat and more thermal noise from that. Or it may simply be decided that it needs to be slowed down for other performance reasons. Now, for most places, this is not ever something that's going to be visible or obvious because most people don't have the same sensor or cameras with two different operating systems and the same sensor. However, Canon does have a weird situation here in that the R5 and R5C use the same sensor and processor. The only difference between the two of them is the software controlling it when you're shooting videos. So with that details out of the way, let me quickly touch on the test setup that I'm using so that you understand how this is getting done. Again, full details of all of the actual process and math are in the link in the description below. So I use the flickering light test procedure for rolling shutter testing. The way this works is I set my camera up in front of a custom-built PWM controlled LED where I can very precisely control how long the light is on or off for. The camera set up so that the LED fills the entire field of view, and I shoot video clips. Now, the combination of the pulse time from the light, the camera's rolling shutter, and the shutter speed selected on the camera will create a video file that looks like this, where you have bands of light-exposed pixels on a largely black background. So, by counting the number of pixels or the number of lines in each of those bright bars, using the shutter speed and the time that the light was on, you can calculate how fast the camera is reading out the sensor in its rolling shutter operation. So that's the nutshell of how this process works. Now, the specifics of this test, I shot everything in C-Log 3. You don't have to use a log picture profile or log curve. You can use the standard picture curves, although for the best information, you will want to turn off sharpening. Additionally, you'll want to use all eye compression. Now, this is one place where the R5C kind of forced my hand. There is no way to record all tests at all of the resolutions using all eye compression on this camera. So, well, not easily at least. I could shoot RAW for some things and then switch to XFAVC Intra for other things, but unfortunately, the situation with all of the raw videos as it stands right now is that there is no good open source, or any open source, in fact, that I'm aware of, software to process it. And since my post-processing that automates all of the computations and calculations is written in Python and OpenCV, I would need something to be able to do that. Now, again, it's not an insurmountable hurdle, but given that the test takes better part of an hour to run in total, it seemed like it was just a little more than I was willing to go. Now, I tested the camera in all three crop factors. I tested all the resolutions at each of the crop factors, so both the DCI and UHD resolutions. Obviously, since the camera is designed to downsample, and that's what Canon tells you it does, that's not strictly necessary, but I wanted to see if there were any oddities in the whole situation with respect to that. Now, the tests themselves, I shot six 5-second clips for each test. The clips, being 5 seconds long, provided somewhere between 120 for 24 frame per second content and 600 for frames for 120 frame per second content, to which I could count the number of lines in any of the bright bars and average that together to get a fairly reasonable number based on, a fairly accurate representation of the bar size. The pulse, or the 5 or 6 clips, I can't remember exactly what it was now, were shot at different light pulse times ranging from 65 milliseconds to 65 microseconds to 2 milliseconds. Again, the idea here is that I'm covering covering a range of different pulse times to average out errors in the shutter speed, the camera, the lighting, etc. So all of this was ultimately averaged together to get the rolling shutter time for a given set of camera settings. So with that said, let's talk about the actual performance that I found with the camera. And we'll start with what I found in full frame mode. So in full frame, the rolling shutter time I found was about 15.5 milliseconds. This applied to obviously all of the resolutions that you output to, because the camera downsamples from 8K to everything smaller, so you don't have an easy way to get around this. Slow and fast motion used the same rolling shutter time for frame rates up to 60 frames a second. So I tested 18, 24, 30, and 60 frames a second for that. As well, or when you switch past 60 frames a second, the rolling shutter time drops to 8.1 milliseconds. So when I tested it 120 frames per second, I got 8.1 milliseconds. Now, interestingly, these rolling shutter times are actually somewhat slower than what the R5 uses. So the R5 in full frame shooting at 8K or 4K high quality has a rolling shutter time of about 15.1 or 15.2 milliseconds. Not a huge difference, but a difference. At full frame shooting 120 frames per second, so either 4K or 1080p, the rolling shutter time on the R5 is only 7.6 milliseconds compared to the R5C's 8.1. So not huge differences, but differences. Dropping the crop mode down to Super 35 improved the rolling shutter performance by decreasing the time to 11.3 milliseconds. Again, this is the same for everything across the board, all of the output resolutions. Shooting in slow and fast mode, again, follows the same kind of setup as full frame does. Everything 60 frames per second and slower shoots at 11.3 milliseconds. Anything above that, so 96 and 120 frames per second, shoots at 5.9 milliseconds. So appreciable improvement there as well. Now, dropping down to Super 16, the smallest crop factor on the camera, the rolling shutter time I found was about 5.7 milliseconds. And unlike the other two crop modes, all of the slow and fast motion settings use the exact same numbers. So it's 5.7 milliseconds in normal recording, it's 5.7 milliseconds for slow and fast motion, across the board from its slowest setting all the way up to 120 frames per second. Now again, this is another place where the R5C seems to lag or does lag behind the EOS R5. So the rolling shutter performance for normal recording in Super 16 mode I found to be roughly equivalent to what the R5 gets in movie crop mode. The only difference is movie crop mode on the R5 is a 1.6 crop factor, it's APS-C, and it's a 5.1K resolution frame, where Super 16 mode on the R5C is only a 3K frame. So it's a much tighter crop factor, it's much smaller. Additionally, the R5 shooting in movie crop mode at 1080p actually got a 4.7 millisecond rolling shutter time when shooting at 120 frames per second, which is a whole millisecond faster than what I saw on the R5C at 120 frames per second in Super 16 crop mode. So this whole situation leads to a couple of interesting observations on the whole thing. So first of all, it appears to me that Canon's photo division, so the people that make the R5, the R3, the R6 II, or Mark II, the R8, etc., the standard mirrorless cameras, are clearly choosing more aggressive timings or performance operations than what the cinema division is doing. Now, obviously, this is good in some respects. The reason that this might be the case, this difference might exist, is simply that the R5C is designed to record indefinitely, and even though it has active cooling to reduce power consumption or better manage the thermal situation in the camera, the cinema team may have chosen to have a lower or slower rolling shutter performance to get a little bit more out of it. On the other hand, the R5 goes full bore and also has a tendency to overheat. So, you know, there are definitely pros and cons there. The other thing that I noticed, and that's a little bit more frustrating to me in some respects, is the R5C lacks any way to manually select a line skipping mechanism for downsampling. Now, I know the traditional sort of approach is line skipping's bad, you really want to downsample, you get better quality images. However, while you get better quality images, that may not be as relevant in all situations. So, for example, if you're shooting fast-paced action, you don't necessarily have the ability, because of the movement and motion blur, to take advantage of potentially a higher resolution frame downsampled, but you certainly could use faster rolling shutter times to reduce the impact of that motion and the rolling shutter effect. So on a camera like the R5, if I'm shooting slow-paced, dramatic situations, I could shoot in 4K high quality mode, which is 8K downsampled, and then when it gets to an actual fight scene or car chase or something like that, I can shoot in 4K standard quality mode, which is line skipped, but has a appreciably faster rolling shutter time. Now, final thing I want to note before I wrap up is that I'm currently working on a rolling shutter-based safe panning speed calculator. Now, if you're interested in cinematography, and you've probably may or may not have looked for this, but there are safe panning calculators out there for cinematic purposes. And generally speaking, these calculators work based on a rule of thumb that says that nothing should pass through the frame in less than 7 seconds. This is a great rule of thumb from a dramatic perspective, but it's not really influenced or functionally based on performance of the cameras. So all cameras would use, all cinematographers would tend to use this rule of thumb. I was interested in seeing how fast the camera has to move before I see noticeable rolling shutter distortion in my images. And so that's what I'm working on. If this sounds like it would be interesting to you, I will post a video with the details, where you go to get it and how to use it, and so on and so forth. So you might want to consider subscribing if that sounds like something you're interested in. So that is the rolling shutter situation on the EOS R5C. If you found this useful or at least interesting, let me know by hitting that like button. If this kind of thing seems like it might be your kind of thing, please consider subscribing if you're not already. Finally, if you'd like to directly support more content like this, there's now a thanks button using the YouTube thanks system to just below the video, so you can kick a tip my way if this is really useful for you. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.